So, hello everybody, my name is Adil Alam. I'll be the moderator for the webinar this afternoon. So we'd like to welcome you and appreciate your interest in the CMBES webinar series. A couple of typical announcements. We will have this webinar recorded. It will be posted on our YouTube channel. So please make sure to like and subscribe and check out our previous webinars there as well. We also have a CMBES peer review. So if you're interested, please do contact the CMBES Secretariat. That's going to be aligned with the new CSOP, the Clinical Engineering Standards of Practice that we'll be launching later on this year as well. So lots of exciting things happening. And this obviously sort of culminates into our premier flagship sort of conference, which is in Vancouver, May 16th to the 18th, 2023. So please always make sure to mark those dates. Always a good time to have all the professionals across Canada and across the world coming to the CMBES conference. Just some logistical items for the webinar today. During the webinar, we will be accepting typed questions and comments submitted through the chat functionality along with the Q&A. During the webinar, the panelists will have a town hall style component where we'll look to start and engage, hopefully, a discussion with members of the audience. So the way we want to have that is if you have a comment to make or you want to contribute to the discussion, please raise your hand and one of the moderators will unmute you and ask you to speak. At that point, you can speak, and then we'll go back and sort of, if anyone else has any comments, sort of follow the same format. And we'll also answer any questions through the chat functionality and or the Q&A as well. So the topic for today is, so judged by the level of professional and international collaboration, this clinical engineering profession is growing, especially since the devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic, and became to more clearly associate with the critical role of models of problem solvers at point of care around the world. And that's where the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance comes in, where they have been a trusted leader in providing unique stages for clinical engineering practitioners to network with experts, exchange best practices, methodologies, and deliver needed education programs where needed around the world. And this presentation really will describe opportunities for our members, the CMBES, to join various activities that further support the evolution of the clinical engineering community, as well as to express ideas for action you are willing to support. This will include multi-language development, virtual training, professional credentialing, and better understanding of the unique function that the GCEA HTF has. And once again, this is more of an exchange rather than a one-way presentation. So please join the next a little less than an hour where we look to engage in that discussion. And so I'll hand it off to Michael, who will introduce our speakers for today.
Thanks, Adil. Yeah, we have three fantastic speakers today, and the list of their accomplishments is really quite substantial. So I'll give you some highlights from their bios, but I really encourage you to, if you do a little Google search for them, you can find quite a list of significant contributions that they've given to clinical engineering community worldwide. And I do mean worldwide. So for instance, Dr. David is in, I believe you're in Texas at the moment. Dr. Calil is in Brazil, and Shauna, as you can see by her white highlights, is up in Northwest Territories. So there you go. So I don't think too many of us don't recognize the name Dr. Yadin David. I know I've been doing electromagnetic compatibility for a little while, as well as clinical engineering. So I know his name for quite some time. But lately, Dr. David is a principal at Biomedical Engineering Consultants, which is a firm providing technical expertise to commercialize and improve health-related products through its life cycle management. Services provided include product product innovation, prototyping, telemedicine program design, regulatory compliance, training, and forensic engineering expertise. So really the full gamut of what we do as clinical engineers. And these services are provided to hospitals, academia, manufacturers, startups, and litigation worldwide, hence the link to Global Clinical Engineering Alliance. Previously, Dr. David headed the Biomedical Engineering Department and the Center for Telehealth at the largest medical center in the US. So no small feat. His degrees, bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees are from West Virginia University. He's a licensed professional engineer, certified clinical engineer, and I believe, Dr. David, you were founder and first president of ACCE, so not just CCE certified. So very accomplished indeed. For Dr. Saide Calil, he holds a master's and PhD from the University of London. Presently, he's retired as full professor of the University of Campinas. He's a member of the Founders Council of the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance and chair of the GCEA Educational Program Committee. During his career as a clinical engineer in Brazil, he developed or participated on several activities aimed to improve the clinical engineering field worldwide, such as authoring or co-authoring 75 articles about clinical engineering published in national and international congresses. He's been the author or co-author of 6 books in the general clinical engineering field, scientific reviewer, organizer, and coordinator of several national and international congresses on biomedical and clinical engineering. For instance, highlighting the International Clinical Engineering and Health Technology Management Congress in 2017. And he's a former member of the Technical Chamber for Healthcare Products of the Brazilian Health Regulatory Agency and consultant for the Ministry of Health. I would be remiss if I didn't note that he's been a developer and coordinator and teacher of a training course for clinical engineers over 28 years. So again, no small feat. Shauna, who's one of our own from Canada. We're very proud to have her as one of our speakers. She's a clinical engineer from Ottawa, who's currently living in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, where she manages health technology planning and procurement for the Department of Health and Social Services. In this role, she and her team are responsible for planning replacements and new facilities and program requirements for medical equipment in the territory's 33 communities. And I know from speaking with Kevin, that's a very, very challenging environment indeed to provide those services despite being snow locked, etc. So good on you. That's a very nice, I would almost call that a public service, frankly. So thank you. Just a little bit of her background. So she holds a bachelor's of engineering degree in systems and computer engineering, as well as a master's in applied science and electrical engineering. And both of these are from Carleton University. Her master's thesis, entitled Clinical Engineering Effectiveness in Developing World Hospitals, 2008, was at the time the largest study of clinical engineering services and effectiveness metrics in low resource settings globally. She received both degrees with high distinction, and her thesis was actually nominated for the University Senate Medal for Outstanding Academic Achievement. So that's pretty fantastic. She was also an Action Canada Fellow in 2007-2008. She has so many world volunteering notes on her CV here that it's really quite impressive. So she was Engineers Without Borders in Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Zambia. It really is quite impressive before she joined GCA. So let me just read this part though. So Shauna is a member of the Founders Council for the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance, for whom she leads the organization's equity, diversity, and inclusion work. She's a collaborator with the International Federation of Medical and Biological Engineering's Clinical Engineering Division, and has served on the organizing committee for previous appropriate health technologies for low resource settings conferences through the Institute of Engineering and Technology. She also contributes regularly to establish to establish new initiatives, such as the WHO's Compendium of Innovative Health Technologies for Low Resource Settings and the new Appropriate Medical Equipment Labeling Initiative. And if all that sounded very quick and out of breath, I actually read a small fraction of their accomplishments. So we're very pleased to have you here with us today. And so at the moment, before I turn the floor over to Dr. David, I do want to highlight at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the little banner at the bottom. Please type your questions into the Q&A part, not the chat part. That way I can monitor it, and when they're answered, we turn them off, etc. So it's easier for us to make sure we don't miss any of your questions. So with that, I am very pleased to turn the floor over to Dr. David, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael, for the kind introductions. This is a fantastic opportunity for us. I'm personally proud of joined by Shauna and Calil on this presentation. Such accomplished individuals and compassion about serving the international community of our colleagues. For today's event, I see a tremendous opportunity for us to learn about a bit highlights of the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance operation, and develop a dialogue, a town hall conversation between you, the audience, and us, the presenters, about what is the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance about, why it is here, what are your wishes of an international organization may be, how can we work together to have a more timely impact on patient outcomes and patient care services around the world, including in Canada, North America, and other parts of the world. I'm looking forward for this dialogue especially, and love to see that in this town halls format that will be changing a bit, the regular webinar format that you're used to, you will take an active role. Facilitating that would be polling questions. We'll put the polling questions on the screen. We have 4 groups of about 2 to 3 polling questions each throughout the presentation. This will give us an opportunity to better learn who is in the audience, what is your background, and we will post it on the screen so you all can see the results, and we will give you time to select the appropriate answers, and then we can accumulate the total responses so you can see percentage of participation. This opportunity that we have here is critically important because you are the first in the series of such meeting that we are holding around the world with national association to better understand how an alliance, there is a particular reason why we selected the word alliance in our name, Global Clinical Engineering Alliance, is because we would like to be able to set a stage for groups within our profession, clinical engineers, clinical engineering technologists, and clinical engineering technicians come together and provide the appropriate tools for the profession to grow and have the impact we want to have safe technology, innovation in timely fashion coming to the market and being serviced appropriately, as well as providing a stage for other stakeholders, the clinicians, the nurses, the hospital administrators, the Ministry of Health, the regulator, the industry, the academia, to align with us and have a dialogue so we can all work as a team, true team, and move forward to reach what we hope to be improving patient experience throughout the world. So with this short introduction, what the 3 of us will do, I will be taking a look at the Alliance, the GCEA governance, and share about 4 slides with you to highlight the governance issues and functions, so you're better familiar with it. Then Calil will come after me and will use about same type quantity of slides to talk about the professional development, education, and the series of learning that he see where we're going forward with. And then Shauna will join with highlight on specific area of EDI that is so important because the world is so varied, and the understanding of inclusion and equity and diversity is not fair in all parts of the world, and work needs to be done. So with that, let me go ahead to my first slide, if I can, and that will be sharing with you the homepage of the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance. It is globalcea.org, where you can find all the information presented to you here. And the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance is relatively new. And the question is, why we created that? And the answer is simple. In 2017, we ran a survey, international survey, and asked question about what this profession of clinical engineering is facing. Is it profession? Is it an occupation? Is it internationally sharing common challenges and common element, or it's so diversified and different that every region of the world should not even consider about comparing note with another region? And the survey came back with some significant results. And I will focus on 2 specific questions. I think there were like 27 or 26 questions. 2 questions were specifically addressed the issue of international cooperation. The first one was, do you see a need for an international association? And the second question was, if there would be such an organization, would you be willing to volunteer your time to help run some of its functions and operation? Those 2 questions received the highest positive percentage of all the 26 questions that were on the survey. Do you see a need for such an organization? The answers was 90% positive, we see a need. And would you be willing to volunteer? Received the highest percentage positive response in the whole survey. 94% of the respondents said that they will volunteer to help the organization. The light bulb went on. That means that the world is telling us we need the stage, we need to bring the players on, we like the show to begin and show results. And in 2019, in Rome, Italy, when the International Clinical Engineering and Health Technology Management Congress was convening during the Global Clinical Engineering Day, we specifically sat with representative of senior leadership in our field from each of the continent, from Canada, US, Brazil, Italy in Europe, and the UK from outside the European now, from South Africa and from Japan and from China. We all got together, and Greece, of course, I should not neglect them. And we all got together and figure out that if there is a need, let's respond to that and let's create something that is useful for our community. And the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance came about. Next. In 2020, the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance became a reality as an international not-for-profit independent organization with a specific mission that it's going to be a foundry. You know what's a foundry? A foundry is a nice nomenclature for telling you that if you have a shop with all the materials and the tools, you can create pattern, you can create a structure, you can create something, a product that will be useful to others. That's what Foundry is about, is to build an international foundry to maximize the benefit for patients and their care providers from the clinical engineering expertise and healthcare technology, while minimizing health technology risks and cost. And the vision is to develop it in such a way that we all going to be understanding what is the boundary of clinical engineering knowledge, how academic institutions should teaching it, and what are the nomenclature or the requirement for professional credentialing that we should all comply with. Is there a common basic element that we all share in that regard? And the answer is, of course, yes. The Global Clinical Engineering Alliance was created, and immediately, unfortunately, COVID-19 hit the planet, and World Health Organization approached us and contracted the alliance for several projects that are looking at evaluating innovation in a low-resource country of technology that can help resolve the challenges faced by COVID-19. Next. What the group of founders, 12 founders from all parts of the world that I described, agree on that we are going to set the stage for groups, for societies, not so much for individual. But the question came up, what happened in areas that Shauna knows so well, like in Africa, where there are many individuals, but not so many groups or national organizations yet? The Alliance desire to help create and help initiate those organizations in places where organizations do not exist. Therefore, we created an individual membership only for areas where national society do not exist, or where national society decided that they don't want to join the alliance. That is fine. The membership organization categories, as you can see in large block, the MO is designated for national association, and then smaller group are for the, on the right-hand side in orange, for other stakeholders in the healthcare arena, for clinicians, administrators, and a group of professionals who share the stage with us, then industry, academia, think tank, philanthropy, and foundation organizations such as the World Health Organization are all part of the green, and on the left are the individual membership. If I can jump in to the polling question now, Calil, I would like to pose the first two questions of the first group of the polling questions. As you can see in front of you on the screen, what job identify you as? Is your job identify you as clinical engineers, biomedical engineers, other type of engineers, technologists or technician, or you might be in other role? And please take 2 seconds to address that while we're looking at the second questions. Do you identify yourself as, and you see the 4 options there. And finally, the third question, are you employed by academic institution, industry, medical or hospital, medical center or hospital, government, consulting enterprise, or independent service organization? Let me give you 3 seconds more. 3, 2, 1, and I will end the polling question and will share with you the results. And as you can see, almost 50% are clinical engineers, which is what CMBES is about. I kind of expected that, but interestingly, there are 20% of other roles, and you identify yourself about 60% male, 40% female, and small percentage as non-binary. And the third question, who is your employers? And you can see by far medical center and hospital or clinical about 43%, government agency, love to see that, independent service organization, and academia sharing the rest. Now we know a little bit more about you as a background, and I appreciate that. And we'll move on to my next slide if we can. At present, the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance, even though we are a young organization, we enjoy the CMBES visiting with us, asking questions early this year, and make a decision to join as a member in April 2022. And here we are in November, already asking you, a member of the CMBES, how can we better cooperate, collaborate, and align our resources together? And we will talk about that during the rest of the presentation. You can see the variety of membership from South Africa, Italy, Greece, Japan, Brazil, and totally we are now counting 30,000 members in the alliance. Just to let you know, we just announced last week that AAMI and joint GCEA have entered into an agreement to collaborate on specifically delivering educational content in multiple linguistic and on organizing international event together, and that is tremendously a breakthrough in making the alliance so much more meaningful. Next slide, please. As I'm closing my presentation, I wanted you to be familiar with some unique function of the governance of the alliance. We are part of the executive board, the founder council. We have not held election yet, so we don't have general assembly, and we hope to do it in the coming year. But we do have those in blue are functioning committees. We have awards committee. Think about it. International Award Committee for national society that collaborate with other national society. We call it the International Team Award, and for technician/technologist. Best technician technologist performance, again, helping others to achieve better career satisfaction and impact. Policy committee, publication committee, where we have the Journal of Global Clinical Engineering. We are perhaps the only society, international society, with our own journal. We publish quarterly. The Global Clinical Engineering Journal, globalce.org, is available specifically to raise clinical engineering participation and teach clinical engineers that publishing and writing article is not that difficult, that we should do it more. And there is literally a major article in the journal to teach you how to submit, write, and get yourself published. Remember, Global Clinical Engineering Journal. Membership committees, professional development, this is what Calil is going to talk to you about, election committee, and finally I want to talk few words with you about the Global Clinical Engineering HTF, Health Technology Foundation committee. This is a unique function. We are the only international clinical engineering organization that has a funding, a not-for-profit foundation that would issue in the coming year a call for proposal, asking clinical engineers around the world, definitely priority to members of the Alliance to ask for funding for a project that will show how our work is actually impact the outcome of patient care experiences. What is it that we can show that there is a value to our work, therefore receive better recognition and better knowledge, not only within ourselves and with other clinical group, but also with the public. This foundation already has about $70,000 in their bank account, and part of the plea today will ask you to consider a good candidate to come and join the foundation membership. So there is tremendous opportunities here. You can also become reviewers in the Global Clinical Engineering Journal. And I believe that with that, Calil Roy, is that my last? Yes, I would like to turn it over to Calil for his presentation. Thank you. And Calil, if it's okay with you, just give me a break between some of your slides for the polling question. Go ahead.
Okay, well, just tell me, Yadin. Thank you. Well, thank you all for listening to me, to allowing me to present the Educational Program Committee. And as Yadin said, I am the chair of this committee, and I will concentrate my talk just in this committee, okay? But what I'm going to present you is what we do over there. It's a lot of work to be done. Please, Calil, the next one. Yeah, those are the members of the committee. Dr. Yadin, Jennifer from the US, James from the US, myself from Brazil, Stefano from Italy, and Nicholas from Greece. But we are desperate for more people to help us to create new ideas and new educational systems we have there. Please, the next one. Yeah, now at present, we are developing webinars. Those are the activities I started, and of course they are helping a lot, but only those 8 people, it's not enough, really. In order to present webinars, you have to first come up with the idea of what is going to be the subject. And then you have to find international presenters. And this is the difficult part. For instance, I know a lot of people here in Brazil, but we have to be, GCEA has to be an international group. And then we have to call people from everywhere in the world. And this is what we need help. People that knows each other and regarding the subject we are going to present. And we also are trying to construct, of course, not trying, we are already doing that, is to construct short courses. There will be courses for, I would say, 30 to 35 hours, perhaps 40, and then in several different themes. Like with the first one we are already preparing is the project management for clinical engineer, basically. Another one we are trying to prepare the total cost ownership, and then techniques for project presentation. One of the things I find regarding clinical engineers is that they have to learn how to present projects for the administrations. And normally they don't have this, they are not familiar with this kind of presentation. Normally the ones that are in the faculties, in the academy, those are the ones that need, they have more practical on that. But the other ones working in the hospital hall, it's quite difficult to do it. Yadin, you want to present the polling questions now, or want to do it later?
Yes, please, let's do that.
Okay.
So the questions in front of you are, have you participated in equity, diversity, and inclusion training? Is the first question. The second question, if you have participated in equity, diversity, and inclusion training, was it, and we're looking to understand where did you have that opportunity? Third question, do you have adequate opportunity for professional development, and that pertains to what Calil is describing now. 3 questions, and I will give you 3 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Let's see the results. Fantastic. 2/3 has participated in EDI training. And where did you do it? Again, almost 2/3 at work. Fantastic. And opportunities for professional development, about 50% says they do. 1/4 of you said yes, but not enough. That should give Calil momentum to work harder on developing his courses. Thank you. Go ahead, Calil.
Thank you, Yadin. And that's exactly what I did. It really, and you see with the number of people that still want to have more professional development, they have to have more teaching, more knowledge about the clinical engineering field. Then that's the mission, one of the missions of the GCEA. Please, the next one, Calil. Yeah, we are planning, and it's going to be next month. We are planning to organize short webinars, not webinars with 3 people for 45 minutes, just webinars with 20 to 25 minutes, but not strictly scientific. So we can call, for instance, a psychologist to say the problems with clinical engineers in the workshop, something like this, something different, something new to the profession. That's what we are aiming for. And for this is the new announcement. In December now, we are calling. I invited Yadin to talk about forensic analysis. Many people worldwide don't know what it is. They heard, they thought they think what it is. They thought they know what it is, but normally they don't have the faintest idea what is forensic analysis. So in December, we will know a bit about that. Please, the next one. Now, that is the problems I said for you, to you just from the beginning. We need volunteers. This is a non-profit organization dedicated to the clinical engineering field, but all of us take quite a bit of time to prepare things, to work on things, to accomplish the projects we started. So we need people to discuss future subjects and projects, to have ideas. We need people to find speakers, even being a speaker. So that is the big problem we are facing in this committee. So I ask you really for help. If you're willing to work with us, that will be fantastic. Please, Calil, the next one, and that is the last one. That's my email. Please send me a message. Say, look, I desperately want to work with you. And I will be so happy to say, okay, I have work for you. It won't take much time, really, it's true. It won't take much time, but it's just a short dedication of your time to say, oh, I need this, I think, no, I know those guys, I know this guy that may know this subject. Oh, I think you should know some subject. And we make some meetings to discuss what is going to be the next subject to be presented in the webinars. Thank you very much. I hope you join me at the committee. Bye, thank you.
Shauna, you will be next.
Great.
Again, give me a break when you have a chance between couple slides for
sure.
a question. Thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks, Yadin. Thanks, Calil. Yeah, and thanks to everyone for joining today. It's great to be able to talk to some other folks in Canada about the Alliance. I'm going to talk just quickly about our work and where we're coming from with our promotion of EDI in our profession, and just a tiny bit about how we're organizing interactions with different partner organizations. And then the most important part, so I won't take up all the rest of the time, is to talk about opportunities for collaboration between our organizations. I have a few specific ideas, and I'm guessing lots of you on the line do too, so I want to leave some time for that. So first of all, equality or equity, diversity and inclusion. What does it mean to us as the Alliance? Why does it matter? What are we doing to promote it? And how can you be involved? This is what it means to us. It means that everyone belongs in our profession, and I want to say everyone feels like they belong in our profession, and that includes belonging in our Alliance. We have been very intentional about what EDI means to us as an organization starting out, and that means that everyone belongs, but everyone means particularly people who have in the past maybe not felt like they belonged as much because they haven't been part of our profession in as large numbers. So for example, that means women in our profession. It means people from all regions of the world, but we're really focusing on low and middle income countries, people in low and middle resource settings as well, and how they participate globally in our professional community. It means people of all races, and in particular, here in Canada, for example, and other countries like us, it means Indigenous communities and peoples of color. It means people with diverse sexual and gender orientations and identities. It doesn't matter who you are or who you love, you belong in our profession. It means people with different disabilities, diverse cultures and belief systems, religious and otherwise. And as you've noticed already, we have a real commitment to recognizing the value of all different types of qualifications in our profession. So we are an engineering alliance that focuses on clinical engineering professionals, and that means technologists, technicians, and engineers. We're very intentional about that. Why does it matter? I would say everyone has a different answer to this. You can reflect how you would answer this question, but basically our profession needs to reflect the communities we serve. That's common across many professions. So we are a better and stronger profession if we look like and have the same types of life experiences as the people we serve, who are ultimately the patients and their family members and loved ones that we're doing all the work that we do for. Our diversity is our strength. It was really amazing. COVID was obviously very rough and continues to be very rough, but I will never get over how great it felt to have our profession come together globally to collaborate in the early months of COVID. Included, that's something that's important, especially it's important to remember that that's part of the hard work. It's not easy. And that includes listening to people who have different backgrounds and experiences to us. And it makes our profession stronger. The more properly inclusive we are as a profession, both globally and here in Canada and everywhere else, the better we're going to be able to attract all sorts of new clinical engineering professionals into our ranks. So on the EDI front, how are we promoting it? We've drafted a position statement as an organization on our EDI policy and what we are working to support both within our organization and with other member organizations worldwide. We're forming an advisory committee, so we're changing the function of this a little bit from myself as lead and a colleague on the Founders Council, Dan Clark, who is the support person for this work, to an advisory committee. And I'm delighted to tell you that the wonderful Marianne Jambier, who you would all know from your leadership team, has agreed to co-lead that advisory committee with me. So I'm delighted. We've been seeking guidance from EDI experts, and especially ones who have backgrounds working in technical fields. And that has led us to developing some resources that we're working to put together in a resource library on EDI to share both with member organizations and more widely. And we're also hoping to do a webinar at some point next year. I won't spend too long talking about partnerships. I think you've probably already seen the breadth of some of the work that we're doing in collaboration with other organizations, but I did just want to touch on this briefly because Dan Clark, who's another Founders Council member of ours, who's based in the UK, is the lead on this work. And we have drafted a framework agreement. So we have a framework for how and when we decide to engage with organizations as partners on particular projects, both big and small. The main thing is, and that's the next and exciting part of our actual time together today, is talking about what we can actually do to work together. So Dan and I have been talking with an NGO that does a lot of work called the Tropical Health and Education Trust, or THET. They're based in the UK and they work in a number of different low resource countries on capacity building. I did a lot of work with them over the years, particularly in Zambia and a couple of other places. So we've been talking about how to partner with organizations to work on projects that really align with our vision as an alliance. So Yadin, how about we do those polling questions now, and then we can open up the floor to the town hall discussion, and I can, if there's time, share a couple of my thoughts on potential partnership.
Beautiful, beautiful, thank you.
Yep.
Calil, please put the polling question. The questions are in front of you. Are you a registered professional engineer? Is the first question. The second one, are you certified in clinical engineering field? I know CMBES is conducting certification exam in Canada. And the third one, are you registered or certified in other field? 3 questions. We'll give you 3 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Let's see results. So, are you registered professional engineers? We split between yes, no, and some of you says no, but plan to do it soon. Are you certified in clinical engineering? 2/3 says no. Do not see the benefits that it's interesting to learn. Do not take the time to pursue that yet. Interesting to know. And are you registered in other field or certified in other field? 3/4 says no. And you can see the answers there in front of you. Thank you very much. Shauna?
That's great, Yadin. I am actually finished. Thought we could move into the town hall discussion part of the webinar.
Right. So
Thanks,
if you
everyone.
finish, let me ask Calil if we have one more group of questions. And that is the last one we have. We'll put it up while we're telling you the instruction. On the bottom, as Michael told you in the beginning of the screen, there is a banner with raised hand symbol, and you can use that to suggest that you have a question, comment, or editorial if you would like to participate in the conversation. Hope all of you would like to do that. There is a chat icon and a Q&A icon that we're trying to address live as you posting the question. So the first question here, would you be willing to serve on international engineering missions? Interesting. Would you be willing to help the Alliance in its educational activity? And the last question, what is your main interest in the clinical engineering field? And I thought that we have one more question, but would you be willing to teach a webinar? Okay, let's close this one in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Close it, see the results. Would you be willing to serve on the international engineering mission? You can see the results. Yes, if compensation is included. Yes, if it is needed in some part of the world. Very kind of you. That's nice responses. That's over half of you saying that. Yes, but right now I'm too busy, and yes, depends where. Fair answers. Would you be willing to help the Alliance in education activity? Yes, if given enough time to prepare, over half of you. Fantastic. No, I'm busy. No, but willing to help other speakers. Thank you. Fair enough. And not sure. Question 3, what is your main interest in the field of clinical engineering? Risk management is low. Medical equipment management, by far, almost 90% of you responded, and other quality management. Great, very, very nice information to share with you. And Calil, do we have any question about teaching webinar?
No, we don't.
Okay, great. Let's move ahead to the town hall conversation. Let's open it up and see if we have any hands up there of anybody who wants to make a comment. Adil or Michael or Marianne, I don't know if you see, I don't see everybody there.
I can see an open question and an answered question. Maybe while people are sharing their questions, I can just put out there, many of you are involved in the right to repair work that I believe Kevin Taylor is leading within CMBES. I think I've got that right. And we've had some preliminary discussions because right to repair is something, first of all, that is very important to the Alliance, but secondly, many of our members and Founders Council members have a lot of experience with in different places. So we've had some very early discussions about how to potentially collaborate on that. I would also say, because this is near and dear to my own heart, I know many of you are collaborating with other hospitals or clinical engineers in low resource settings through the International Outreach Committee work that's happened in Ghana. I know there's some CMMS stuff going on. I know there's been a lot of donations work going on. So that could be an interesting area for collaboration as well. So I just wanted to throw those out there to get people thinking.
So Shauna, actually, I'd like to address a couple of good points there. So I'm actually on the 2 subcommittees that we have that's looking at right to repair, as well as at the top of the talk, Adil was mentioning that we're currently revising our CMBES standards of practice. And so we actually have specific sections on right to repair as well as donations.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. And we'd actually talked about the standards of practice themselves, hadn't we, Yadin? You are, yeah, that's, you are one of the only professional organizations that I know of anyway, who actually has those, and those are very valuable to provide as guidance for professional associations, places with less resources that are just getting up and running, I think. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I don't mean to speak for Murray, but we're Canadian, so we're very welcoming and willing to share, just our basic nature. So for instance, we're actually, I think I wouldn't say proud, but I mean, I think it's everyone notes very strongly that Accreditation Canada and all hospitals are accredited through Accreditation Canada, or they're not permitted to operate. Period. Yeah. Accreditation Canada bases a number of their questions on our CMBES standards of practice.
Yeah.
So we take our SOP maintenance pretty seriously.
Yeah.
And this document, Michael, is so important, and my desire to see that it's being circulated beyond the Canadian borders. I would like the world to see it, to share it. You cannot just take it word for word and apply it in other region. You have to be modified, but the essence, the basics are there and common. And like I said before, there are so many common challenges and content among ourselves. Calil has a body of practice, body of knowledge survey he conducted and analyzed the results. It is fascinating to see how he crafted in a almost three-dimension graphic presentation the results, showing how much common element exists among the world. For example, sterilization and water quality being part of clinical engineering training is high in Africa, but you don't see it in North America. It's belonged to somebody else, to sterile supply and dialysis, but not to clinical engineering education. That is amazing lesson to learn. But other than that, safety and performance assurance program, asset management, technology management are common to most of the world. So this document that CMBES developed, I would love to see that we can discuss about getting distribution through the alliance to the rest of the world.
Very interesting. And kind of as a highlight to that point, there are three questions, comment and two other questions in the Q&A from Jack, who's actually joining us from Nigeria. So in it, for instance, I want to highlight, he actually gave his contact information and he was kind of requesting, can I connect with someone about mentorship and coaching? So I would encourage anyone and everyone to do that through the talk itself. And Adil, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll actually have this talk recorded and available on our website. So if you missed someone's email address, we can get it from there, or if you email us, we can put you in connection with the speakers so that you can get that mentoring chip. And we actually have an initiative in Canada where we're looking at having a mentor-mentee little facility that we're looking to put together here as well. So I think it's a pretty important aspect, and it's completely universal. Bill also noted, Bill Gentles, Dr. Gentles is one of our very long-standing members in CMBES. He notes, for instance, that we do sell the CSOP, so that's the Clinical Engineering Standards of Practice, to high-resource countries, but we have permission from CMBES to share it at no charge with low-resource countries, so keep that in mind.
I feel that we can accept the condition and through the alliance promote it with those conditions.
Yeah.
And, probably what the question will come is who is qualified to what rate. So we just need to be prepared to answer that. And Bill has been inducted to the ACCE Hall of Fame earlier this year. So congratulations to Bill.
Yeah, congrats, Bill.
Absolutely. Mario also put in a comment in the Q&A that, and Adil made reference to this at the top of the talk, that we actually have a peer review committee, and they base their survey questions that they do in the field on the CSOP.
So Marianne, can you tell us when I hear from Michael, people in the field, who are these?
Sorry, what was the question? Who are the...
Mario Ramirez is also one of our long-standing members. He's director at Toronto Sick Kids.
I see. Okay. Sorry about confusion.
So I should have introduced him. My mistake.
Okay. Any other hands up?
I don't actually see hands. Do you see hands, Adil?
I do not. No, not necessarily.
Yadin,
Yes.
I would like to comment a bit about the question from Jack Shinigu. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong, but I think it's interesting to help him. And he said he promotes journals and publication of journals, things, it would be nice to have a regional journal or a country journal, something, some communication within the country that we can spread the news for clinical engineers all around. We have the same, we don't have a journal here in Brazil regarding the society, but we have a small journal that tells what's happening with clinical engineer, what the news and things like this. So we should have perhaps some guidance in the GCA to help those people, societies, to do such activity. I don't know.
So some countries would have a newsletter, not necessarily a journal, a newsletter. And my vision is that under the membership button on the Alliance website, we will provide a section for each member society to post resources that can be vacancies, that can be training, that can be newsletter. To their desire, they will have a space to share it with the rest of the world.
Yeah, just be careful with languages. That's the only point.
No, I keep my language clean.
I do see another question that just came up in the Q&A. It's from CN, and that's all they write down as their name, so I can't say their name or where they're from. But the question reads, what are the requirements or qualifications necessary for someone to join the Alliance?
So the answer is the following. We have 5 categories that I described for membership. If you are an association of clinical engineering, please visit the website. Under membership category, you will find specific qualification for the society. They have to have activities, ongoing officers election. They have to have some functionality in the field, etc. If you're not in the clinical engineering field, you have to be related to healthcare, like the International Association of Anesthesiologists, or we are in dialogue with the International Hospital Federation, IHF, where we published a 2 poster session in their International Hospital Federation annual meeting in the Middle East last year. If you are individual and you are in a country that has National Society of Clinical Engineers or Biomedical Engineers, you need to go to that society and ask them to become member. We don't want to encourage individual in countries that have society to become individual member of the Alliance. We would like to encourage the society to become member. If the society is informing you, CN, that they don't wish to become member of the Alliance, then an individual in such condition or in countries where there are no national society can apply for membership as individuals. They have to have a record of training. They have to have record of employment in healthcare, and they have to get a resume as part of the application. Membership fees are just like what you describe about CMBES document, is following the World Bank table of country economical standing. Developed world has $300 a year, and other parts of the world, low resource countries, have lower membership fees. So you can visit the table and find out. Hope this is answering.
Thank you very much. Before I do see 2 other questions, but Adil, we're at 6 past the hour.
Yeah.
Do we want to answer these live, or would we maybe have them answered and we'll send the answers to them via email, like to all attendees?
I'd probably just defer to our speakers, do you guys have maybe like a couple more minutes to answer some questions live?
I'm fine to go a bit longer.
Okay.
Okay. How about we just do the last couple and then cap it off at that. And if more questions come about, we can answer that offline.
That sounds great. So this one, I'm going to read this one from Jack. He's the fellow from Nigeria that was asking a question before, because I think this is a pretty universal one. Some of us are coming from electrical electronics engineering, such as me, subspecialized into biomed background. Is there any way that we can get clinical engineering degrees or certification, mostly from around the world, hence the training, are not accessible in Africa now?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. I know that there are lots of countries, particularly in Africa, that don't have any sort of formal clinical engineering or biomedical engineering training, and that it's true most people working in that capacity in hospitals or in health systems do have a different type of background, often electronics or electrical. There are some countries in Africa that do have established training programs, both at the technologist and at the degree level. So there are degree programs in Kenya, in South Africa, I believe now in Ghana as well. And there are lots of technologist level programs. There's one that I mentioned earlier that's at a technical college in Zambia called Nortec, which is a 4-year diploma program course. And there are lots of short courses. And by short courses, I mean lots of kind of non-governmental organizations that do short training courses on different clinical engineering skills, both on the equipment maintenance side and the health technology management side. That being said, I recognize, I think what you're saying, Jack, which is that it's very challenging to find those programs and that not many of them exist. And I do know for some programs that people choose to study in, that their background in electronics or electrical at a diploma level, for example, counts towards some of their courses if they're studying a program in a different country. That often does happen. It just depends how one country or one system treats the other's qualifications. And it doesn't speak to actual certification, but in terms of training and information, there are, especially after COVID, so many more materials that are available online that are open source around health technology management, around equipment maintenance, setting up a maintenance system, etc. I can also send a list of a couple of organizations that work in the area, maybe to the webinar organizers which we can share back with you, Jack, and then can be circulated if that would be helpful.
Excellent. Thank you, Shauna.
Yeah.
And I see one last question from Idris Ibrahim. Please, I'm interested in the Alliance and writing publication mentorship. What are the requirements for effectiveness?
I would like to call on Calil and give some guidance on what you would suggest Idris to do.
Well, thank you, Yadin. But I think it falls in the suggestion I gave to help people to write short publications, short journal, newsletters, things like this. Perhaps we can plan a standard, a format, pattern, a template that tells the guy what to put different things in different parts of the journal. Perhaps that's the easiest way to do it. And also, as I said before, the problem is the language. But if we have some layout to help those people what to do with short publication, then I think it may help the Idris Ibrahim.
Yeah. Idris, in general, if you look specifically in writing about effectiveness of your services to a hospital on equipment, the answer is maybe an analogy to transportation. When you ask what's the effectiveness of a machine that have an engine and carry a load, i.e. a car, and you saying I need to go from point A to point B, it will take me maybe an hour. If I have a car, it will be only 10 minutes. So what you need to do is look at what services you provide that is changing, that has an impact on the outcome that is positive. What's the cost, how much talent you need, what's the material, etc., etc. And start writing about that. You don't have the answer on day one, but start thinking about the effectiveness of something is take this something out and look what would happen and put it back in and see how does it impact the outcome. Hope that is helpful.
Thank you. With that, I think we are over time. Thank you very much to our speakers for staying a little bit longer. Adil, would you like to give the final words?
Yeah, sure. So once again, thank you, everybody. I think the key takeaway was there's a lot of opportunities with the GCEA, and we have all the presenters right here. So if you need to get in touch with them, please don't hesitate to contact us through the secretariat. The YouTube, the presentation will be recorded, and you can obviously get in touch with us through that and look at the recordings as well. We have our next webinar in a couple of weeks, where we'll see a familiar face from this webinar as well, and hopefully learn a little bit more about the program in the Northwest Territories. So with that, once again, thank you everybody for your time this afternoon. Thank you to our presenters, Dr. Yadin, Dr. Calil, and Shauna, and we will see you guys in a bit.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity, and remember, together we can make it better.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.